And then if you wanted to like do a formal practice, you could give yourself like a time limit, like 20 minutes or whatever, because online is easier than in paper. To build that deck out, come up to what you would expect, like you would play with that, and then compare it to other people and discuss, where you went differently. And I think personally that experience is really useful for me. When I did it, I was looking at Casey's piles and being like, "What the hell? He's playing like three colors in every in every deck. Why am I not doing this?" And then we could talk about how uh our experiences were different and whether it's correct what he's doing and whether it's correct, like whether I'm just missing opportunities with my sealed pools.
Yeah. I also like when you're like I think one of the biggest things you can do with a data and kind of expectations around people sharing it is make sure you turn your draft logs on Moto and you share text files. Don't just share pictures. Because I think what Nico's saying there is like pretty pretty spot on. You want to make sure that you're giving people the opportunity to not just to like kind of just not look at your deck and be like, oh, okay. It's just share the text file and have them try to figure it out, and it's just like them getting to do a free seal pool, right?
Yeah, let me. Oops.
All good. Did you have something you want to say, Nico?
No, I'm just drinking water. It's hot as hell here.
Oh,
I
okay.
can't put my AC in because it's smoky as shit. I'm
No
dying.
idea. I I agree. I also think that one like even with our last set with Lord of the Rings, right? Like I think the 17's land data was just wrong at the end of it. Like it was getting it was getting so warped on that. Like where you're looking at like Rally has a 63% win rate. It's like you're supposed to pick Rally over all these cards, and then like you actually go to it and you're like, nah, I'm taking Smite to Deathless. Like there's just no way I'm taking Rally over Smite. Pack one, pick one, even though it has like 5 percentage points on it, right? So I think tracking data unlimited is like pretty abhorrent because it's not like constructed, right? And also it's even smaller, right? You have a smaller sample size with your deck. You have 3 matches or 7 matches if you're playing on a different program, or 4 and sealed. Um, it's such a small sample size that like I'm way less worried about like how you're doing with your decks and more trying to understand why you built your deck a certain way or why did you draft a certain way.
I mean, in testing in the past, I've always found that people use 17 lands data as a check on their own, like as a check on
Yeah,
their own opinions. It's like second guess stuff. If the data shows something extremely different than what you're thinking, it's maybe a signal to think about it more.
yeah,
Um, think about why that's the case, or are you wrong? And if you think about it a lot and you talk with a lot of people and you decide, no, I'm correct, then that's fine. You're
yeah,
you're the end, and 17 lands is just like a tool to help you get to
yeah.
that conclusion.
Yeah, well, we only have 2 weeks, right, in all reality. Once the set comes out, you have 2 weeks, to test, and that's it. So I think that would be, like, 4 total meetings would probably be fine. I'm also, like, like, we can even do one in person when everyone's there, which is nice. Yeah.
I'd like
I
I'd like to do just a few meetings that the expectation isn't that everybody shows up, but if you can, you do throughout the weekdays. So like, I don't know, Tuesday, say it's Tuesday night at 6, PST or whatever. Like I'm not, just for an example, where we could do like a sealed pool build, so we put up a sealed pool and then everybody builds it, and then we meet at 6 on Tuesday and we say, all right, here's how I built it and why. You like take a look at other people's builds and you say, okay, so I'm interested in why you did this instead of this, can we talk about that, like that sort of thing. And there's no expectation that everybody shows up. Maybe it's only like 3 people, but that still seems really useful to me.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey.
Oh, I'm making dinner, so I'll only be here for a sec.
Cool. Yeah, so I think that we should just find the days that work for the most people, or really just like, I don't know. I'm mixed on whether we should just like say, all right, 6 p.m. every night, or like, it could vary on different days. Just have a schedule that each day, there's a meeting time. Somebody pings, like if I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna be free Wednesday, and it's Wednesday afternoon or whatever. I ping the chat and be like, I'm gonna be here talking about this. Like, I want to talk about this, and then whoever wants to show up can show up. Like that sounds good to me.
I agree. Like, I'm usually I'm like someone who's probably usually just gonna, like, practically schedule a meeting for myself and one other person as everyone's available. Like, I'm sure me and Nico are gonna be like, "There's just no." I'm gonna say, "No shot. This card's playable," and he's gonna be like, "This card's great," and we're gonna be in Discord for an hour and a half figuring it out. so, uh, so like, anytime like after 6 PST is fine.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I share data a little weird. So like, I'm someone who just I don't really like take the data points down. I kind of just share how I feel about something, right? Like kind of like what we are talking about more long term. Are people like more like they want to know like how how you're winning, like how well you're doing specifically with a card? Do you want us to like share how we think a card is doing based on and then compare that kind of to 17 lands as well? Like I just kind of just post like, oh, you know, I think this card's good, right? It's played out really well with these other cards, right? It's not really data points rather than just, how it's playing out in my drafts or how it's playing out in my sealeds. I don't know if that works for everybody. Some people are more analytical.
To me, that makes a lot of sense.
Oh.
I might go for it, Derek.
Yeah. I mean, I think I said this beforehand when you were doing your PT testing, Derek, that like my deck that I think was the best deck I drafted in Lord of the Rings, I won to the draft on Moto. I thought it was by far the strongest deck I've ever drafted in that format. And I just like snap one, two. Like you can still draft well and have a bad record. It's fine. Be Derek, play 3 matches and think, well, I like how they played out. So, deck's great.
Yeah, I think that that's super important. Not tying your, I don't know, not tying your feelings about a deck to how it performed. Because some of the worst drafts that I've ever had, just somehow like squeaked into trophy or whatever. I also think that there's a huge difference between where you're getting the source from. Like if I'm drafting on Arena, like I can't really compare that to a draft on Moto. I like drafting on Arena. I think it's a smoother experience to a certain extent, but I'd be kidding if I said that the quality of players were the same on Arena, and I'd be kidding once again if I said that the quality of players on Moto are the same in a league versus that of a challenge, right? So just understanding exactly where you're getting that data, trying to come to a conclusion about that yourself, I think would be very important at posting that with the context of that,
Are
or at least
we
understanding it.
are we gonna be able to just use a program to draft and then we can all just like arena challenge each other?
Uh, I mean, I think that's gonna be tough to get 8. I'm just gonna be like realistic. I think the I think the best, and also I think one of the best ways, like I play a lot of Moto, so like I'm obviously biased, and I play a lot of prelims and I play a lot of challenges, um, but and that's a lot of time. But I started thinking about it because beforehand I was like, I think the like the first couple days playing on Arena is like it's fine, you're learning the cards, but then I just remember like I think I played against Carl Sharp 5 times on day one of Lord of the Rings Limited. In just leagues, if you play on Moto for those first 2 days, you're just literally playing killers the entire time. And you're gonna figure out what cards are good. And because people aren't gonna play them poorly, right? Like that's what I'm worried about is like when I go to well, at least whenever I tried drafting on Arena, I was getting like 5th pick claims and 6th pick claims. Or my opponents were just actually green blue, and I'm like, okay, like we're not playing the same format. So I'm
Yep.
just like playing on Arena I think is fine to learn the cards, but like if you're actually trying to get like real testing in, I'd be really worried about like you think a card's good because somebody's walking into your trick every time, right? Oh, and sorry, Derek. What's that, like, and also like if playing Moto, I know like financially, Moto isn't like financially viable for people. Just like post in Discord. I'll give you some tickets to draft, or I'll give you tickets to play a sealed or a prelim. Like it's fine.
The
I have
homie.
I have infinite Moto tickets, so.
It's just the power of drafting too much and winning all the time.
No, it's the sealed.
Translator note: Fluey is a draft log.
Post a draft log of every draft you do. It's so good.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's another thing is if
Mm.
people just post their draft logs. I mean, I understand like when I draft poorly and I'm like I'm really embarrassed about this. I don't really want to post the draft log, but if I post the draft log and I'm like, okay, like I understand where I went wrong here, but I may be missing stuff. So could you guys also look over this? I personally love looking at draft logs. So if anybody posts a draft log, I will look at it if you want.
Same.
Absolutely. Also, I'll be right back.
Uh, do we? I don't know how everyone else has tested like beforehand for limited, but like uh it's kind of weird because most people only ever test for draft. Like testing for sealed tournaments is like a dead art from GPs. So if you didn't play a lot of GPs, you probably didn't test for many sealed tournaments. But uh, at least back in the day when we tested a lot for sealed, um, it was still 9 round sealed, 6 rounds draft. This one's 8 and 6, but so it's one less round of sealed. But we actually spent probably 3/4 of our time on sealed and 25% of our time on draft. Because getting to day 2 was so important.
I'm also interested when in Vegas, like, do we want to get some boxes and do some like 8-man, like some sealeds?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nico's gonna get there on Monday, and I'm gonna force Nico to go to Dark Side.
What's Dark Side?
Uh, it's the local store, and it's the local store in Vegas, and one of the best Magic stores in the U.S. It's insane.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, the players are abhorrent, but Nick Raw has every single thing you could ever imagine in that store. Yeah. 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 I'm a big fan though of not playing Magic late. Like do it as your first part of the day when your brain's like not melted from Vegas. Yeah, when you're at Vegas and you're actually cracking like packs and people want to do an IRL draft. And I have 13 people also staying with me, so if we're one or two short, I can get Trevor or Kyle to play. They're both very good. But yeah, it's playing one or two paper drafts, especially if you've never done a call draft, is kind of nice. I think actually doing because day two are call drafts, like a PT, Derek. Yeah, so
I think so. One of the things I just want to say is that sealed practice is probably the easiest to do. It's also the hardest to get yourself to mentally engage with. When you're
yep.
doing a sealed pool without stakes, like when you're not doing a challenge, when you're not doing a moto league, when there's nothing on the line, it's really hard to get yourself to actually sit down for 30 minutes and build a pool like you would build it if you were in the tournament. It's very difficult. But if you're mentally aware of that and you're actually putting your energy into it, then it is very good practice. But it's not hard to do.
Yeah. Highly suggest playing prelims and challenges if you can for stakes. It forces you to actually care. At least a little bit. That I mean,
I
whatever.
feel like that stakes too. I don't know.
No. I think this is like so weird because I know talking about an actual archetype before people actually learn all the cards. I'm still learning a bunch of the cards right now, but I have no idea how this archetype is supposed to play out, and I literally, 3 hours of staring at the cards, and I have no idea how you're supposed to build these decks. And maybe it's something that people can take with them to like maybe it's like, hey, you want to actually take a look at these blue and white cards. I think a lot of the other archetypes, pretty at least as like a baseline, I think it's pretty easy to understand what actually matters. Um, in those archetypes, like what cards are pretty good. Like, hey, black has 3 hard removal spells, right? Uh, there are there are black is black is going to be so good, but um, a lot of these a lot of these archetypes have a pretty extensive amount of tricks if you're not green, especially if you're looking at white and blue. White and blue have a actual metric ton of tricks. I have no idea how good all of these are, and I have no idea how to evaluate them inside of blue white at all. And it might not be you might not be able to until you actually get to play some of these games, and that definitely makes sense. But um, yeah, I just think you're going to end up with a critical. You're not going to end up with a critical mass of adventure cards, which I have this weird feeling that the adventure cards are going to be taken as highly as the temp cards, where you're just going to start prioritizing them higher and higher and higher and higher and higher all the time. Even the commons.
So I think for blue white, it's pretty important to note that there's multiple uncommons, like multiple really good uncommons for that archetype that actually do not go in that deck, like go in any other deck. It just goes in blue white. There is no other deck.
There's just no
Um,
tappers. There's no tappers. It feels
yeah,
like
there are.
like
Yeah,
man,
there are.
not ones I
There's
want to
the there's the
play.
th- there's the 3/4 elk. I actually think that card is quite good. Whenever a enchantment enters the battlefield, you tap a
Yeah,
creature. There's the I don't think that the tap stun draw is necessarily amazing, but if you have a payoff on board, it's probably pretty damn good. Um, there's the blue uncommon that attacks and taps. I feel like there's another one that's good, but anyway, you get the
there's
point.
a
Frost
white
Bridge Guard.
there's a white tapper as well. Plunge into
Yeah.
winter. I don't know if that card's good. It's Hifling knots, but it's
Yeah,
blue. It's in
that's
white
the one I
now.
meant. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And there's also the 3 mana tapper, right? Or the bear that you pay 3, tap it, and then tap something.
Yeah, I guess like also maybe if you take an early icy, which that card's not going to get passed ever, but if you take like the
Icy is
early Hydra Crown of Winter or
oh,
Haldra's
the
Crown
rare.
of Winter, yeah, like you
Yeah,
could
yeah.
take like that card is obviously turbo busted in that deck. Um, but like I'm not. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just like not high on these like the blue white uncommon at all, and maybe it's something I have to try and play with it. Um,
Mhm.
but I honestly thought it had flying when I first read it, and it does not. Um, yeah, I don't know how these are gonna get played out because I feel like you have to get a really high amount of like these decks where you have to have a really high amount of tricks that work with your payoffs. I find are extremely hard to put together. But maybe you're gonna wield a bunch of Hitling knots like you did in Lord of the Rings, and you're gonna be fine.
I very much so think it's going to be like see that it's open and get into that archetype sort of thing.
Nah, I don't foresee myself sitting down hoping I'm drafting blue white.
Oh no, they're just mentioning the bear tapper. That's about it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Boo! Give Greg his old back.
Fine.
I think blue, the tapping stuff doesn't seem as good as the cursed roll stuff. That's my opinion so far.
I don't think the cursed roll stuff looks good at all.
Yeah, I don't
That
want to
looks
put
way
it.
bad.
I think that's gonna get. I think those are gonna get taken off of your. Those are gonna get taken off your or off their creatures for +1/+1 rolls or young hero rolls or whatever. I'm
What do you
really
mean? It's only when no, those rolls don't get removed by other rolls. It's only a roll you control.
Is that how it works?
Yes.
It's each player can have one roll on a creature.
Yeah.
Okay. I did not know
Wait,
how that
that's how it
works.
works.
So
That's way better.
yeah, I thought it
Yeah.
was actual dog shit when I was reading all those cards and
Yeah, me
instantly
too.
giving them D's because I'm like, man, do you see how many these things give rolls?
They do
Like
get
it's
to bargain their creature away, I guess, but
yeah.
Well, no, because you can only sack tokens.
oh, you're right. Shit.
So
Uh,
if you control another role on a creature, then you put the other role into the graveyard. But say if I put a cursed role on Derek's creature, Derek can't put another role on his creature to remove my role. That's
Correct.
crazy. Okay, I didn't know that.
yeah.
No, it becomes you get the stats, right? You get +1/+1.
Ooh, well, if it's a young hero, you can start buffing it up to a 3/3,
Yeah, there
right?
you go. Boom. It's all
Ooh!
coming back.
Young hero Derek. Okay, that makes the blue cards. That actually makes the blue cards so much better. I have to go reevaluate now because I thought that. Yeah.
So I'm the same way right now. Is that I evaluated as you could not remove it. So I'm like, half these blue cards don't work.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, like diminishing which looks actually pretty good now.
it does look a little bit better. That's true, but it does not help blue green, by the way.
Look, blue green is always infinitely doomed to being a terrible draft archetype.
It might have the. I think the blue green uncommon is one of the worst cards in the set. Like, I actually think it's like the worst looter you've ever seen, and a tap ability that does not function with anything else in the set. The Gusty
It's
Explorer.
okay. It's not that. I can find some worse cards. Come on.
There's a lot of bad
Man.
guys in the set, especially on like the enchantment sheet.
Oh yeah, the enchantment sheet's a disaster. There's 13 good ones. Oh, sorry, there's like 5 you cannot pass this card. Like level as long like obviously you're gonna have to pass Grave Pact if you're in Pact 3 and you're not black. Um, but like, man, what the fuck is Defense of the Heart in fucking Sealed or in Draft? Like, are we joking? Like,
I
it's
hope that I have the 1-mana Destroy Art enchantment in my hand when you play Reign. That's what
yeah,
it is.
yeah, and
That
like
card
some of the
is
blood,
really good.
it's completely messed up. But like, there's also like there's some like cheeky ones that are also like Blind Obedience was really good in its limited format. I don't know if it's still good, but it was really good in the aggressive decks in its own limited format. Extort is really good. And if you're playing red white and all their creatures enter the battlefield tapped, it's actually pretty tough. Dawn of Hope is completely busted. So, but yeah, there's a bunch of random busted ones and a bunch of ones that are actual dog shit. Like you'll never play them in a million years.
Mm-hmm.
All the way lions, etc. Most of the red ones, because the red ones don't do anything.
Whoa! Hold on. I disagree.
But there are some red ones that do things, but not many.
Well, okay. I actually have only looked at the uncommons, so.
Yeah, well, the
I think
uncommons are the good ones. The rare ones
yeah,
suck.
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, except for I think it's aggravated assault. Aggravated assault is not a realistic magic card.
What's that card do?
5 mana, untap all your creatures attack again on an enchantment.
Yeah, that one
Yeah.
doesn't really do it, huh?
Yeah. So yeah, but there's a lot to learn in this set because the adventure cards and the bonus sheet is 65 cards. So like there's 35 adventure cards and there's 65 bonus cards. So it's kind of like you're trying to learn a 300 card set. It's a lot of cards.
Mm.
Because unlike the last Eldraine, a lot of these adventure cards are splashable because you will play one half of it and be happy. Like that is true. That is a disaster at the PT level. So, but you're gonna open packs with 3 rares in them in the set randomly because there's a bonus card sheet on every pack, and you can also open foil rares. Yep. No. Yeah, I can do that. I can do it. Yeah.